Yeah. Welcome to Grawlix Nights, the Grawlix Podcast live show. I'm Randy.
I'm Melanie.
And I'm Jesse.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? I didn't even ask you two before the stream. How's my volume? Is my volume okay? You guys sound good to me.
Yeah,
okay.
You sound fine.
We're professionals. We've been doing this for...
Mic check on air. That's
Yeah.
what it is. That's how you do.
Well, I was looking at it as like, nobody's here yet. We're fine. We're fine. Nobody's here yet. Nobody watches the replays. It's okay. Unless you happen to be watching the replay right now. Congratulations.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul. That's true. We will get a stray Paul comment on a replay once in a while on Facebook. Hey, so here's what's the agenda. Here's what's on our agenda. We have an agenda.
Oh, yes.
It's going to be kind of a loose episode. Jesse, I know, has watched all of Echo, the Marvel series Echo. Melanie and I have only watched 2 episodes, which I didn't realize is 2/5 of the series so far. There's only 5 episodes.
Yeah. And that 5th episode's only half an hour long. It's not like some of them where they're like, let's make it double length or whatever. Like,
right.
If we'll get into that. But
okay,
that's one of my criticisms is that last episode's way too short.
We just watched something. Oh, the other thing that we'll talk about a little bit, because Melanie and I finished Gen V, which is the Boys spinoff on Amazon. And I guess
Animated,
it didn't feel...
right?
Nope, that's live action.
Oh,
and
okay.
so they put money into it. Not that they didn't put money into the animated stuff, but no, it's like a proper live action series. New characters, a couple of them, I don't want to get into spoilers, but a few characters pop over from the other show. And I guess the last episode didn't necessarily feel super short, but like looking at the runtimes, and it's only maybe 7, maybe 8 episodes, but I remember coming up to the last episode and it's like 30 minutes, which is like, it feels kind of short for this kind of a show, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a trend. It's interesting. But we'll talk a little bit more about that momentarily. And then some other stuff, I'm sure. But first, how are you two doing?
So cold. Cold,
Yep, I was
cold,
gonna say
cold.
It's cold.
Man. Yeah, that's true. Winter. It's great. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah. Winter, chicken dinner.
I don't think that should have got the laugh it got, but it did.
It's because no one should have ever made that joke, but I did.
It was so unexpected.
I don't even know if you could qualify that as a joke. I don't think it is. It's just bad.
Yeah, locally, schools, I'm assuming it's hitting several other parts of the country too, but schools been very on again, off again this week. I think they're closed to, at least Omaha, I think I read they're going to be closed tomorrow again.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. Does that include you?
Yep.
Okay.
Even Lincoln. And so like Lincoln, they don't close as often as a lot of these other places, but Lincoln's been closing for all of these as well. So
Well, yesterday I was out for the little bit that it snowed, but I was out for the hardest part of the snowing.
the visibility sucked.
And that had some scary moments. I slid sideways down a hill, and well, really, I went to turn, and then I started sliding down the hill, still in the turn. It never got to straighten out. And then when I was on the interstate, somebody cut me off, and then tried to slow down, I guess, and then started fishtailing, so that I had to try to slow down so I didn't hit him, and then I started fishtailing, so it was a little scary. Doing that on the interstate's never fun, but, you know. So be careful out there, everybody.
I know more accidents happen in town, or in cities, but man, interstate and highway driving during the winter in Nebraska is scary. That was like a big motivator for me to finally be like, you know what? I'm gonna work from home. I'm gonna become a freelancer, and so I don't have to drive to Omaha on that highway every day. Yeah.
Well, also you consider Omaha, by a lot of standards, has the worst drivers in America, and we also have I-80, which is the deadliest highway. So, you know.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's great. All right. Well, hey, I was just trying to think. When we normally jump into like, what are some of the random little things we've been consuming? But that's kind of going to be the whole episode, I think.
Yeah.
Jesse, you been watching or consuming anything interesting?
Somebody just jumping in.
I'm sorry. I guess so. Is there other
Yep.
stuff?
Yeah, I don't know what else there would be. I mean, this is what we do next. Yeah.
I'm just winging it. I'm just winging
Yeah,
it, man.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
I'll get into the one of them that we didn't announce, just to throw everybody for a loop. I started that last second part, the second part of the last season of The Crown, and man, that show is so much better than it has any right to be. Like, on its face, it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna follow around the royals, see what they do, what they've done
Right.
throughout history, kind of thing. And so we've gotten into the Tony Blair era, and
Okay.
and man, that should not be interesting at all. But it's so good. It's so fun, like that, and then Prince William becoming like a heartthrob and whatnot. And it's so funny thinking of Prince William as a heartthrob, considering he looks like just a dork.
Right.
He is not
Right.
a heartthrob anymore, man. His dad's genetics are in there. They're in there. They took over somewhere around 30.
Well, who's the one that kind of got excommunicated not long ago?
Harry is,
Harry, okay.
yeah, because he
Okay.
married Meghan Merkel.
Okay, no, but there
not
was
Meghan
somebody
Merkel.
else.
Megan something.
There was another one though that was like,
The Chimo one.
I mean, I don't know that it was that, so I'm not going to necessarily say that, but maybe, maybe, yeah. I mean, I guess yeah. There was one whose name has been attached to certain lists that might have been, and certain people that might be in the news recently, even though they're dead.
Oh.
Hillary killed themselves.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's one attached to Epstein.
Is that
we're
Prince
not-
Andrew or whatever?
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I don't keep up with it enough.
I believe
I'm not
so.
saying he is any of those things. I'm just saying there's news stories I've heard, and that's all I'm not qualified to talk about it. I regret bringing this up. I regret mentioning this at all. Yeah, The Crown. I need to jump back on. I will at some point. At some point, I'll be sitting there and I'll be like, it's time. It's time to jump back onto The Crown. Because I fell off during... Oh, man, and I love her. Is it...
Oh, Olivia Colman.
Yeah, Olivia Colman, while she was the queen. I think they've got another actress in there now.
Yes. Yeah. Now it's the gal who was on Harry Potter. I mean, I'm sure she's done
Right.
other things, but like
The one
she's
teacher
playing
lady.
kind of the she's playing kind of the older queen. Kind of the queen that I remember as a kid, growing up with.
Right, more in our like lifetime.
Yeah,
'Cause
she's always been old for me. She was
Yeah.
never as attractive as even Olivia Colman.
Right. But Olivia Colman's great, but I fell off during that period. I don't remember why. I'll jump back on at some point. Her take on the Queen was I mean, their take was always like she was very cold, but I feel like Olivia Colman's really good at delivering very cold. So maybe that's kind of why I was like, I don't know, she's too cold now.
Like the gal that's doing her now is just as good at that. Like she played that one love to hate her professor of
Right.
Hogwarts.
Oh, yeah.
What else have we're in a weird spot on TV shows and entertainment and stuff. There's a lot out there. There's a few I've fallen off of. And then we finished some. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what we've been watching.
We kind of hit this pocket where it's like, man, we just want to watch something familiar. So we've been watching How I Met Your Mother.
Okay.
Something dumb and fun kind of deal. And
Sure.
yeah, so we did that until, like The Crown came back, and then Echo is out now. So
We watched a lot of silly anime and other things, just randomly. That,
Oh yeah, we finished what was it? Dom 100 Bucket List of the Dead or whatever on Netflix, which is a anime series about like a zombie outbreak in which like the main character is kind of super stoked for it because now he doesn't have to go to his horrible like job.
Yeah.
And so he makes a bucket list of things he wants to do before he gets turned into a zombie, and then he ends up with a little crew of friends and people he comes across, and it was a fun show. We finally finished that. It's a recommend. It's interesting anime. I feel like it's pretty well done, and it's a mix of like, I wouldn't call it scary. It's mostly comedy, but there's a little bit of drama in there, and then like the usual kind of anime cheese.
That's the one where they also released a live action immediately after. So we haven't watched that. We can't say if that's good or not, but I'm assuming it's the same thing.
Netflix must have like, whoever is in charge read this manga and was like, this, and they released the live action movie of it like while they were still releasing episodes of the anime. Super weird.
Why is this their bag, man? Like, it's such a weird hill to die on too, because like the only one that I think that's been like given any kind of really good reviews has been the Cowboy Bebop one. Like,
Right,
that's the only one I've heard of as being good, because the Death Note one, it was like, oh, just watch the real one. You know, like everybody's just like, oh, just watch the original.
I think people like the One Piece one. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, the one. Yeah, I'd say the One Piece one. The One Piece is One Piece live action is the most popular one so far, because even Cowboy Bebop is they still canceled it after one season. Like, I don't think it's coming back. One Piece is definitely coming back, and they keep teasing that Chopper's going to be on it. I don't know how they're going to do it. They're going to have to do a CGI character, and that's going to get expensive to have like that, or he just won't be around that much, which will be weird. But like he's a straight up cartoon character. Like, he's not a human. You can't do Chopper in any way other than, I don't see him going animatronic. Although I would kind of love it. Like, even if he looked like super jank, that'd almost make it better. But
especially if he looks super jank like the Young Turks.
No, every time. No. I mean, if he looked like Jank Yuger, that would be weird. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like people might. Although he does look like he. I'm sure there's some anime character he would fit. He's got a very like.
He's got an anime face. He's got a face for anime.
He does.
I don't know if that's a compliment or not.
But really, it's smart of Netflix, because anime and manga are super popular. We went to Barnes and Noble, which we had to go really far to find one, but for Christmas to buy some stuff, and they had like almost quite a quarter, but almost a quarter of the store was just manga.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
That one over by Oakview, that one, there's more. There's almost more manga than comics. There probably is more manga than comics, because I didn't like check it all out. But like, that was like, oh yeah, there's shelves over here too.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's interesting. That kind of makes sense, I guess, because you're not going to get an audiobook version, so they don't really have that edging them out of the market, you know, in terms of like a bookstore. But
well, it's cheaply produced over in Japan, so like,
right,
they can sell it for whatever markup, you know.
Yeah.
So,
and rapidly, like they at least the famous, you know, the well-known, I can't remember the word for it, but manga creators, like, just constant output, which is crazy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, they have to slow down sometimes, or like fudge a bit, but they have weekly shows, don't they, after that come out with manga?
Well, yeah, they have some of them will release in weekly installments, and then the anime series, like, that's the problem with them with series that get stretched out, is they catch up, and then they're just like waiting for the new installments to come out.
That was the Dragon Ball Z problem. It was like, why is this fight taking forever, man?
That makes trying to get through the One Piece anime series at times insufferable, because you can tell when they catch up, and it's brutal, man.
Makes me want to quit.
They almost need to fan edit the series kind of deal before it
They
gets
do.
to
And-
America, because we aren't ready for that. We can't handle that.
There are fan edits of a lot of One Piece stuff, and I'm switching over to that. Like, I switched over to that a couple times, especially when I was rewatching some of it to kind of catch Melanie up. And I think going forward, if they're available, I'm going fan edit all the way, just because like I can't handle that pacing and the like filler. But Netflix is going to be releasing the One Piece. They're remaking at least the first arc, which will be like the third time it's been made now. The first arc of the manga is like a new anime series, which is weird to be doing that while the existing anime is still going, of course. But
Well, how many times have they remade the like the Pokemon, like the first movie? I feel like they've remade it like 2 or 3 times now.
yeah, I mean, so the different animation studios can handle it and all that, and I kind of support it. Like, actually, Netflix is not ever going to commit to anything to actually get through the entire series. But yeah, if some company wanted to like go back and remake a bunch of those early arcs, get rid of that filler, they don't have to worry about the whole catching up and like stalling. Man, I'd love it. That'd be all right. Because as it is, it's almost worse than Doctor Who. You see the question of like, there's so much Doctor Who, I don't know where to start. One Piece is almost worse because it's like, well, start at the beginning. But man, it's rough in spots. There's so much filler, even like right in the first few arcs.
Yeah.
I was gonna say though about Netflix, I think the live action adaptations, I think anime does so well for them. Like they do a lot of original series, that they're just like, let's give it a try. Let's, if it bombs, that's fine. I'm assuming we're still making bank off these, off the anime series, so it's fine. Maybe one of these will hit, and that'll be even better. But I don't know. I don't know what motivates them to keep doing them. I guess it's the same thing of like what they always say, like especially in the podcast space, but just any content creation is repurpose your content.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing,
Who?
Jesse?
Oh, I'm muted. That's what I'm doing.
Okay, yeah,
I was like, you mean just do true crime all the time?
no, but yeah,
The
that
podcast
too.
space. That's what you do.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, man, I need to reconnect with the main podcast space to see what's going on, because I know
You don't
what's
know
going
what kind
on
of
in the-
murders are hot this time.
Yeah,
of
what
year.
are the hot murders? Is that true? Is that still true of like the super popular? I've been so like stuck in the self-help and entrepreneurial world.
I think it's that
space.
and news are really big, podcasts now. I don't know. Like I think the ones that people actually listen to are still like true crime or kind of entertainment space. But like, I was surprised to see that like, I'm sure, I don't know why I was surprised, but like Night Vale is doing a thing somewhere pretty soon. It was like, oh, I thought maybe
good.
Night Vale had kind of run its course and was on
Right.
a hiatus or something, because I don't hear about it as much anymore.
Right.
But like, I always thought that was a genius idea.
What's going on, Savannah? How are you?
Hey-o!
Howdy.
Over on Twitch.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Well, I know every time I look at, because I'll still like look at what are the most popular, and this is always the mistake. You look at the most popular anything, and it's gonna be half of it's gonna be junk, in my opinion. It's just not gonna appeal to me. But I'll look at the most popular podcasts, and it's consistently, I'll look at the list, and there's like 4 or 5 people that shows belonging to certain people. I'm like,
Yeah.
that dude's trash. That guy's trash. Wow, man, it's so depressing that those are like the popular podcasters, meaning they have like a considerable following, and they are just garbage people. It's
Yeah.
very judgmental, but I'm okay with that.
As far as like people,
Savannah
who,
nailed it.
yes. As far as people who are like kind of podcasting royalty that deserve their flowers, Mark Maron. That's it. You know.
Oh, sure, you'd say that because you're one of the, I don't know, leftist, commie, whatever's.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
But yeah, no, Savannah nailed it with, yeah, Mark Maron is awesome, and I agree. Savannah nailed it with, like, I'm not a Joe Rogan fan. What's his name? I'm so depressed to see that Ben Shapiro's always up in the top list.
Oh yeah.
He's just the worst.
Michael Rosenbaum's show is really fun. He played Lex Luthor in Smallville.
Okay.
And he
okay.
he interviews people, and he just pulls out a lot of interesting stuff out of people. Even the people I don't like particularly enjoy as much anymore. Once I found out just how political they are, like John Schneider, who he was Pa Kent in Smallville.
Oh, okay.
Rosenbaum had him on, and it was actually a really fun interview, listening to him. So.
Shapiro's media company is falling apart? Is that who Savannah's talking about?
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. The United States is kind of falling apart, so there you go.
The United States is, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know. It's whatever. But yeah, there's a lot of I don't know. There's just a lot of that in the most popular shows, and it's like, really. I guess it makes sense. People just like to be outraged, so there's a lot of shows up there that just stoke that outrage. But it's like there's so many like entertainment podcasts and fictional like Night Vale and like interesting entertainment stuff and legit comedy because.
Dang it, that's what big media is for, to stoke our outrage. The podcast community is to fuel our passions for niche anything. That's what podcasts are good at.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want a podcast about knitting? There's podcasts about knitting. I'm sure there are. Or quilting or something, you know?
Yeah, but any medium that we come up with, they're going to flood with that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Because they have money, and
Yeah.
Savannah says I still watch TYT almost every day. See, and it's not just like well, he doesn't like conservatives, which I'm not a fan of the conservative viewpoint, but it's not just that. I had to stop watching TYT at a certain point. Like I unsubscribed to their YouTube channel, which I was subscribed to for like years and years, because it's just like they were also stoking the real bad. So it's not just a left or right thing. I just had to unplug from anything that's just like rage bait material, and I hate it. I hate it.
Was it Cenk Uygur was claimed he was going to be running for president, and he can't even do that?
Well, he says that's a myth. I don't know. I'd have to look into it. But I just wanted to say, I think that's why Savannah's here. You made a Cenk joke earlier, and it called to her.
You summoned her.
I summoned her. Yeah,
that's funny.
That's what's up.
Oh, okay, he is, and he's fighting it in court. Well, I had seen his explanation of that, and part of he claimed he didn't expect he has a chance of winning, but he wanted to run because he believed legally he could, in that him running would then like show that like, oh no, people can run if they're not necessarily native born, but.
Yeah, because I believe it doesn't say that they can't be native born. It just says that they have to be citizens, and he is a citizen. So.
Yeah, I don't know the specifics, but I don't think he honestly would expect to win. I think he was just trying to make a point to maybe inspire other people who would otherwise be like, well, I can't run. But right. I also don't know if that.
We also have a hardline anti-Biden stance, so.
That's okay.
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah. More power to him.
Yeah.
But also.
I don't care for Biden, but I'd rather Biden than Trump.
That's the thing.
Well, that's the thing, but also that's the problem. Threads is
Yeah.
super interesting because some of the people, some of the trashier Twitter people have since moved over. But more than like any kind of conservative stuff, and maybe it's just the algorithm, I do see a lot of like liberal talk on there, but like not like anti-democratic, not
Oh.
anti-democrat liberal talk, which is interesting. And it ends up being, they end up fighting with the Democrats too. It ends up being just as kind of polarizing and garbage inducing argument crap as anything else. But it's interesting to see that.
I actually read an art, or it wasn't an article. It was results from a poll that's super interesting to me, and I don't really. I have like my family. Some of my family is conservatives, but I don't really hang out with conservatives. But apparently, there's a lot of infighting amongst conservatives because a lot of them don't like Trump, and a lot of splintering into smaller parties. But the problem is that there aren't, like, all the states don't recognize most of the parties. And so if you
Yeah.
can't run in every state, you don't have any chance of becoming president, which is why we keep ending up stuck with the same two parties all the time. But
Yep.
nobody is happy with their party anymore, I don't think.
That and we need ranked choice voting. We need something
Yes.
different than what we have right now.
Yes, I agree. Ranked choice and no electoral college, hopefully.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. But enough politics. Let's move on to entertainment. Let's entertain people with our entertainment talk.
Right.
What were we going to talk about?
Well, let's talk about Echo first. This
Yeah.
certainly won't be polarizing at all, right? I have not heard much about this, so I don't know. But I'm also not super.
I
keen into
haven't
it right
either,
now.
but it just dropped. Like, it literally just dropped. What? Tuesday?
Yeah, it's got to be just the other day. Yeah, Melanie and I watched the first two episodes, episode 2 today, but you've watched the whole series.
Yeah. We just binged it like crazy yesterday.
So far, I'm enjoying it for the most part, but like it's hard to like, despite being 2/5 of the way through, it's hard to say. I don't know where I'm going to land on it. I can see a lot of potential there. I'm just kind of waiting for it to like.
Let's be frank. You're waiting for D'Onofrio.
I'm not going to get it. I'm waiting for more Daredevil. That was the highlight. I was like, the first episode, when they're technically still like in quick flashback, like get you up to speed with who this lady is. Daredevil busted through, and I was like, oh, like that was a pleasant surprise.
Oh yeah,
I did
yeah.
not
Episode
expect
1.
it.
I didn't expect him on episode 1 either.
Yeah.
Jesse, are you
But-
familiar with the character?
Yeah, I'm actually. That's one of the reasons I got back into comics was
Okay.
that run of Daredevil and the preceding run, because the preceding run was the run that Kevin Smith did, and then it branched off into a couple of different other creators. And David Mack, he became pretty influential in the art and writing after that run. So, like, I like this take on Echo, but it is very different from the comic
Yeah.
character, right? Like, so the comic character is indigenous, but she's much more aristocratic. Like, Kingpin had her going to like ballet, and they basically made her like an indigenous Black Widow character almost.
Oh.
And just like anybody that's in Daredevil, like their whole their whole drive is that they somehow get entangled romantically with Matt Murdock, and then it's this whole thing where the Kingpin has made her believe that Daredevil is responsible for the death of her father, kind of thing. So kind of like what they did with Hawkeye, only with
Right.
Daredevil.
Did she have indigenous Golden Fist powers or something?
Not in that initial run. Now I haven't seen a lot of like the further adventures of Echo, because I know she's done a lot of different things. She even wore the Ronin suit for a while in the Avengers comics, and it was like, oh, it's Echo is underneath that. It was just like, who's Ronin this time? So yeah, but I don't know. But I like this. I mean, it's different, and so I would have to do some digging to see where that all ties in.
I don't think
I,
she
I
needs it, honestly. I
No.
think it's impressive enough that somebody as severely disabled as she is as like super high functioning as she is. You know what I mean? Like able to beat people in combat and get around and stuff. Like it's super impressive. Just that. I don't think she needs a superpower. Also,
Right.
I was so in episode 2 you kind of see like, oh, she has some type of power. And I was curious. I was not familiar with the comic book version, so I looked it up before the stream today. And yeah, her power is originally very Taskmaster,
Yes.
right? Like she
Yep.
could like basically mimic anything somebody does.
Yeah.
And now she has super ancestral powers or something.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I don't know. I didn't read that far into it because we're only on episode 2, but from what I gathered from episode 2, that seems like what they were doing, kind of.
Yeah.
I like the character and I like the story, but I don't like that. I don't like the way that they do the Native American thing, just because they have the backstory and that's fine, but they're pushing that in there while still showing the people as like their secret criminal elements that whatever. They're still painting them all in a bad light, but then being like, oh, but look at their history, and I don't like the way that they did that. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, it's an interesting corner they painted themselves into because they have to draw some kind of connection to Wilson Fisk. And so like they have to do that. And so they've made Wilson Fisk kind of like integral to this community, which doesn't give them much agency then, does it? Like they're still under the thumb of the man, the white man in particular,
Right.
Well, yeah, and if he's so ingrained in their little area, why are they freaking out about her bringing him there? Because she's not. He's already there. You know what I mean?
Well,
Right.
but she's bringing trouble.
Well, I guess, but
She's rocking the boat. I will say where we're at now, she's not making wise decisions at all.
Oh no, she wants to start a fight.
You don't have to spoil it, but I'm concerned for Biscuit or
me too.
Biscuits
If
or
something
whatever his
bad
name
happens
is.
to him, I'm gonna be sad.
I'm very concerned for Biscuits.
He's great. I I didn't expect to enjoy that character as much as I do, but he's great.
He's totally the type of character that would annoy me, but yeah, I
you
like
don't.
him too.
He doesn't get overdone. Like you're
Yeah.
getting as much of him. You'll get more. You'll get more, but you won't get like. He's not going to become like a weasel character or something from Deadpool. He's
Right.
He just kind of bops in and out.
To touch back on the superpowers real quick, yeah, I was expecting street level again, and for the most part, this does seem like street level crime, whatever. Especially with the news that like the Netflix Marvel stuff is kind of canon now. They're bringing they're bringing a Daredevil series. They're going to start a Daredevil series, which is Matt Murdock Daredevil, or it is always Matt Murdock Daredevil. What's his
Charlie
name?
Cox. Yeah.
Charlie Cox. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if Disney's acknowledging all the canon from those series, but I liked that stuff a lot. I like the street level stuff. I mean, you want to throw some like superpower stuff in there, whatever, that's cool, but it's also, it's mostly driven by, I guess, crime drama, and that's, I don't know.
Well,
I like that a
what
lot.
what I'm really excited about is this whole, without spoiling everything, like there's this whole arc they can take, where there's this whole thing where like at one point the Kingpin dies. Of course he dies. Everybody dies, right? But then they all come back. But while the Kingpin is dead, like Daredevil has to rise up and become the Kingpin as Daredevil just to keep things functioning, because if they don't function, and then it's just a city at war kind of deal, like
Right.
the whole gang war type of thing where everybody just tries to take over the Kingpin's old haunts and whatnot. So that I think that, I don't remember if that's Shadowland or if that's just its own thing, but like there's so many fun directions that they can go with that. And then I don't know when the Kingpin becomes mayor of New York or whatever.
Okay.
You know, like there's that all leads into that, and then at the end and fall of that, then this is what's really exciting to me, is the potential, because currently Luke Cage is the mayor.
Okay.
So
I was
like Spider-Man's even had to like come in contact with Luke, and Luke is like, go away.
I was gonna say that Daredevil arc sounded kind of like what they were setting up for. Not that arc exactly, but like a similar arc at the end of whatever the last season of Luke Cage was, because they were setting up where he was basically going to take the top spot of the crime boss to kind of fill that void to avoid more trouble, but in the same respect, is that going to corrupt him? And that's like where they were leading to before the series got canceled, and they just kind of like left it hanging. That's an interesting concept. I like that.
And then eventually Luke Cage and Jessica Jones get together, and they even have a child. So,
Oh, really? Okay.
there's still a lot of really interesting things that they could mine from something that they've already established. And, you know, like they were just getting into potentially making Iron Fist watchable.
Right.
You know?
They were kind of setting up some interesting stuff with that series too. You're right. And you know, Marvel's been like Disney, whatever. They're struggling with the Phase 4 and Phase 5 stuff. It could be smart to be like, well, you know what? We kind of have this whole already pre-established for us pocket universe, TV cinematic universe with the Netflix series and this more street level stuff, which has got to be cheaper to film anyway.
Oh, yeah, it's got to be.
Although episode 2 of this, like her on the train, didn't look great all the time, but for the most part, the effects were pretty solid. There's been a few pretty good effects. But yeah, like, well, that's kind of self-contained. Maybe we retreat to that for a while we work on this other stuff, because they seem very concerned about this other stuff. That's a whole other thing. There's a news story recently where it must have been Feige was talking about, I guess, the failure of the TV stuff, the Disney Plus streaming stuff with all this Marvel. And I don't know. People must not like it, and it must not be getting the viewers. I haven't thought it's been that bad, but I think the standpoint it seems like Disney is taking is, we were trying to make these TV shows, but we're trying to make them like movies, and that's why it failed, because we're trying to give a cinematic experience in series form, and that's not what people want. So what they want to do is like lean more on like the series are going to feel like TV shows, and there'll be longer serialized stories as they drop a 5-episode Echo season.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I feel about that. Maybe that's their like fancy way of fancying up. We just need to spend less, but
I mean, that works with some properties. Like, that works fine with She-Hulk. That was perfect for She-Hulk. But I don't want to see that in a Captain America show. I don't want to see that even in an Echo-like show. Like, I think Echo does an okay job of trying to almost fit into the Daredevil universe. You know, like that's where it's going to be. It's a little different. It's a little off compared to the stuff we got from the Netflix series, but it's not so far removed that I can't see it coexisting. You know, it's maybe not, like, at the end of the day, I don't know if it's quite as successful as Hawkeye was.
yeah.
But look at all the money and characters they threw into Hawkeye. I mean, like, Hawkeye is a surprise for sure, because it's like, okay, Hawkeye. But then you got Kate Bishop, and you got Yelena, the White Widow. You know, you've got all these characters that was just like, okay, all right. Just throw everybody, plus Echo. And they gave us, like, they kind of stole Echo's best thunder for the Hawkeye series. You know, like, some of Echo's top moments are blinding the Kingpin. In the comic, when he has that whole showdown with her, he blinds her. That makes more sense in the comic run because, you know, she was involved with Matt. And so what do you do? basically bring him down to the point where he's got the same disability as his hated enemy.
Right. Right. I feel like it is a case of oversaturation with a lot of that stuff, because, and I don't know if it's like the numbers aren't there. I know I've heard people talk about like superhero fatigue. They've been talking about that for years, but I feel like people are actually like kind of getting tired of it. But I feel like it's just because the series that for me landed well were great. Like Loki was awesome. I really liked the Hawkeye series. That was really good. But then there was WandaVision was fine. But there's a lot. And I don't know that any of them were necessarily bad. Like I never got to watch them. I never got around to watching was it Miss Marvel or whatever the Marvel series was?
Yeah, Ms. Marvel, and then the new Marvels movie will be hitting Netflix soon-ish.
Interesting.
So, yeah, pretty. I think the problem is like there's really not any tentpole movies other than Spider-Man now.
Yeah.
Like Doctor Strange doesn't have the same drawing power as something like Captain America. It just doesn't, And so eventually we'll get a Sam Wilson Captain America, but I want that movie to do well, but I can't see it doing as well as a Steve Rogers movie just because he's the originator. Like everybody comes out for a Batman movie, everybody comes out for a Spider-Man movie. You kind of have to have a tent pole for your franchise, and they burn through them. And it's not like they burned through them overnight. It took them a decade plus.
Right.
But like you're just not going to have, you don't have Guardians anymore. You don't have Thor anymore. I mean, it's kind of iffy what their future is with this franchise. And like Iron Man, maybe they'll draw him back with some money, but like he doesn't need to ever come back.
Mm-hmm. I feel like the series, if anything, and the series should have been a way, or should going forward, they should try weird stuff with series. Maybe not sink huge budgets into them, but try, like the Moon Knight. I kind of thought Moon Knight, even though they said it's apparently like was disconnected, I felt like that was maybe trying out a character to see if it hits. And if it hits, then you take that character and you build the franchise around them more. Like you try to find your next Iron Man, but not literally, but the next popular character that really takes off, and then build the next phase around them, or the phase after the next thing.
You know who needs a show?
Who?
With the one property that they've never really landed would do so much better as a TV show. Kind of campy and stupid. The Fantastic Four.
Right.
It would be so much better as a TV show. And it's not to say that I don't believe that someone could possibly pull off a good Fantastic Four movie, but it's been tried and it's failed. And I just think maybe it's just not the right approach.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They're a family, so get into the nuance of family. You can't do that in a movie, really. You don't have enough time.
Mm-hmm. And plus, I think that kind of lends itself more to, or their group lends itself more to episodic type stuff anyway, rather than some big grand, thing.
Yeah. And, you almost got to go stupid CW with it, in terms of the kinds of stuff that they do, because it's got to be like this grand arc of ridiculousness. That's where you take stuff like Kang. That's where Kang actually works, is when you're dealing with stuff like the Fantastic Four.
Right.
In a flippin' fantastic car with Herbie the robot,
lean into the kind of lighter family drama thing and sci-fi and the science fiction.
Literally
aspect.
The
lean
Thing.
Into those. Yeah.
Literally lean into The Thing.
Yeah.
Have Ben Grimm and Johnny Storm, like, give them ridiculous banter best frenemies, you know?
I think the superhero problem is studios, they don't want to take a chance necessarily on a thing. They want to replicate the success or whatever. So a lot of times that means trying to do the same thing. Or and I don't think it's just the studios. I think it's also audiences. They're like, if it's a superhero thing, it should be this. And I've been saying for ages, since Legion, the best way, and I actually was really like, it kind of has was very disjointed, but I kind of liked where Phase 4 was going because it seemed like they were like, okay, superhero stuff, but let's just get weird with it. Get Sam Raimi. We're gonna do Doctor Strange, but it's kind of a horror movie. We're gonna do Loki, but it's a Doctor Who. It's like just weird things.
Yeah.
I kind of like that, and I feel like if you can get audiences used to that, man, that's like, you don't have to ditch the superhero thing. You can still have your cinematic universe. You just got to get people used to like, oh, it's a superhero thing, but maybe her hands don't have to glow and she has super strength all of a sudden. She
Yeah.
can just be, I don't know, a street level trying to fight for a crime boss who kind of still has superhero abilities in that she's, deaf and has one leg, but is awesome and like can do
Yeah.
this acrobatic stuff. Yeah, I don't know, man.
I was thinking she was gonna get when. I'm sorry, I only watched into the 2 episodes, but I was thinking she was gonna get one of those like springy legs that they have that you can like
Oh, yeah.
jump over fences with.
Right, yeah, yeah.
That would have been fun. Well, maybe she still does. I don't know. I haven't seen all of it yet.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what you guys think going forward because you get a lot more Vincent D'Onofrio, and he's awesome. Like every moment he's on the screen, he's just so good. And like one thing that I really love about the series going forward, and this isn't really a spoiler because you've already seen it in action, is that they'll flip back and forth between the way that we see things or hear things and the way that she sees / hears things, and that is so good and it's so creepy. Like you know how Vincent D'Onofrio can just go straight creepy with the Kingpin. It's just as creepy when you can't hear him.
That's interesting. Yeah, I kind of wish they'd done that more. I really particularly liked the scene where, I don't know, she was just looking to get in trouble, I guess, but she's like breaking into the motorcycle store, and then she, revs up the motorcycle and sends it through the window at the cop car, but it goes more or less silent for that part. I really like that. It's such a good effect, and yeah, I kind of hope there's more of that.
Yeah, they're kind of sparing with it, but it's so good when they use it. Yeah.
I think they also need to though take into account some of the times when they don't do that, and she's doing things that should be super loud, and everybody should hear it. Like when she was jumping around on a train on metal, siding or whatever, they would have heard that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but she's deaf, so it doesn't make any sound.
No.
Or when she's drilling into the bottom of a train car.
Right.
Yeah. Seems like you'd hear that kind of squealing. I know there's a lot of squealing metal, but that's a different kind.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. So Jesse, you finished it. What do you think of it? And how does it compare to, I guess, I don't know if it's fair to do so, but the other Marvel series that you've watched?
So, like I said, I think that Hawkeye did it better overall, but I do like it. I do like it for, it's 5 episodes. It's super fast. If I have a complaint, that's it. It is that it's like we get such a good feeling for, and this has been my complaint about a lot of these Disney Plus Marvel shows, is that they give us so much world building, and then it's like they ran out of money, or they said you only get 5 episodes, and the 5th episode's only like 36 minutes long. And it's like, well, and you got to have her big hero coming out moment in that last episode, so we're just going to cram that into that final episode. And so, yeah, like, I mean, it's still worth watching beginning to end, but like that last episode left me wanting more. Like, man, just stretch that last episode out a little bit more, give it more time to breathe, because just it has the same problem as a lot of these shows have had, where it's like WandaVision. The best part is not the beat 'em up thing at the end. The best part is everything you've built. You know, it's this world that we're inhabiting, but you got to have a rock'em sock'em knockout fight at the end in order to pay it off, and that just doesn't work in this format. You know, like that's a movie ending. That's not a. It's a sloppy movie ending in a TV show.
I was gonna say, not to get off of that because I don't know that we were finished with it, but I just want to say so I don't forget later. We were talking about another show with and the ending being only half an hour, but I think that is the opposite for me. And I'll get to that when we get to that episode, but don't let me forget. Okay, go ahead.
Well, that's a good segue because speaking of superhero stuff, so the boys is great, but the boys is definitely like, it's not, the boys isn't just adult take on superheroes. It's like subversive take on superheroes.
Sure.
Really.
Yeah.
And at least for me, it works well, partially because of the world building. Not that it's like super intricate, but like just the weird reality of superheroes in that world. But Gen V is basically like, what if, there was like a superhero college in that world? What would that be like? And it would kind of suck for the characters in the show. I mean, it would kind of suck like being in the rest of the boys' world would suck. Like, it just seems unpleasant to have superheroes around. And there are no good guys. But, yeah, we watched Gen V. Let me pull up a little, I don't know, I have a little visual aid here. Where's it at? I liked it. I thought I didn't necessarily, it could be the boys. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have the characters. It's got a new set of characters. And at times, like, especially at the beginning, it does kind of lean into the college, like, not shenanigans, but college stuff, a little bit of the college drama before it kind of gets into like the actual plot of the season. But tonally, it's the boys, and because the boys just likes to do ridiculous stuff, like, oh, we have a character who can shrink down tiny, like an Ant-Man kind of, except, what would be a weird real world, like, what, how would that work in a kind of how can we make it work in a weird real world way? Oh, it's like an eating disorder. In order to shrink, you have to purge. Now, what's the weirdest sexual situation we can put that person in? Let's be as explicit as possible. And that's what, that's kind of the boys' MO, right? And it goes hard in that respect.
I kind of like that though, how they did that with the college scenario, because there were, things that they had some of the heroes using their powers to do that are crappy things that regular college students do anyway, but they do it so much easier and worse because they have the superpowers to do it with.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing this show echoes, like, has the same thing of The Boys, where it's like satirical, and it's not subtle at all. It's social commentary in just the most blunt way possible, and this show does that too. And yeah, it's definitely,
so
college is
one thing that's
right
interesting about The Boys is that it's like superheroes are there and it's just kind of matter of fact, like they're just there, right? But then the rest of the world still feels like our world.
Yeah.
So is that kind of still the thing, or does it start to take on more of a Watchmen style dystopia? Like, do we get more layers to the world beyond Vought or whatever it is?
Nah, Vought's still pretty tied close into it. Just because, especially with it being like a superhero school, like how they portray like the inner workings of Vought, there seems to be like equal emphasis put on like PR and social media presence, if not more so emphasis on that than like crime fighting and superhero work. Like
Right.
it's very like kind of the same type of thing. And it's hard to say as to like it doesn't make the rest of the world feel any more like our world since we're in like a superhero centric area. It just feels like more exploring that specifically without necessarily regard for like what that's like from the outside, from a normal human's perspective. It just kind of further enforces like anyone in power of any kind, especially the ones that are supposedly like forces of good, are just horrible, corrupt people. It really leans into that just as much as the main series does.
It's interesting they go this route, like the college route with it, versus like one of my favorite episodes is where they go to like the orphanage of the superpowered kids, and it's just like that's terrifying. You could never discipline these children, kind of deal. And it's like, oh, so you could go Teen Titans, the boys, you know, and this is kind of like that, but not really because they're basically young adults, anyways.
Well, I think this does touch on that type of thing, especially with like when it gets into some of their backstories. You know, in this world, nobody has a good like. I discovered my superpowers in this way, and it's never good. Like it's always some horrific situation, which it probably would be, because like everyone's powers are potentially like very devastating, especially if they don't even know they have them. But it very much is that kind of thing of like. It's not coming of age because they're in college, but I think it's that concept of like discovering your powers or who you want to be in the world, like kind of coming of age thing, except like, you know, we need penises and stuff. We need to see some weird stuff. So they have to be adult enough that it's not weird that we're shooting this stuff. Like there's an exploding junk. Like there's some really crazy stuff in there. Interestingly, though, I mean, it doesn't necessarily like expose like add a bunch to the main series lore, but it does kind of tie into at least one of the characters from the main series, not a main character, but one of the characters from The Boys. It kind of expands like your understanding of her power set in a way that's interesting and could potentially like have impact on some kind of impact on the main series. I'm wondering if I don't know if these characters are going to cross over to the main series. I have no idea what they got planned for that. I don't necessarily see it, but I did like. I mean, a lot of them are jerks still, but I did like most of the characters. Like all these characters here are fairly compelling and interesting. Like for example, these two. Can I zoom into them? God, this picture's huge. I didn't realize it was that big when I clicked on it. And here's a good example of like The Boys not subtle commentary. These characters are the same character. And their power set is they can change between these two forms, so they can swap between being a man and a woman.
Oh, so
And
they're
it
not
also-
the Wonder Twins. They're
No, they're one person. And also, it
They
seems
each
like
have their own power set. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh.
like she has a different power than he has. I think he just has like a super strength type thing or something, and she has some, I don't know, force power. But they really examine more like the idea of what it's like to be able to change genders, like, and the idea that like because how powers are, I think they started as a man, and then when the powers kicked in, that's when they could change to being a woman. So that becomes like,
I don't know.
you know,
if
in her
that's-
backstory.
I think it was more the parents wanted it to be a boy, so they raised it as a boy, or them. They raised them as a boy and wanted them to be a boy. And then necessarily they didn't have their powers always.
Regardless,
Yeah.
so it plays into that a bit, yeah. But I liked it a lot. I thought it was pretty good. Like it took a couple episodes before I was really into it, but I thought it was good. It's definitely a good companion piece to The Boys. It slots well into the world. And man, I don't want to get into spoilers if anybody wants to watch it, but I'll tell you what. There are some despicable people in The Boys that you can't even keep their despicableness out of the spin-off series. It's just like, oh god.
Well, I mean, yeah, in a world where Homelander even exists.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Well, one of the things that I mean, I liked it too. I liked the whole show. It was good. But one of the things that I liked also was, we were talking about not really having that many normal people that it focuses on. But I like it. Kind of almost seems like they make it sort of like the superpowered people are just elites or something, Like they'll go and get in trouble and people will cover for them because they're elite. And there's a lot of things, like a lot of it's about popularity, like who's the star of the school and they're going to get all the special treatment because they're like the jocks or something, you know what I mean? And yeah, I liked how they used the superpowers as still to demonstrate things that happen in the real world.
Right. Also, there's a conflict or concept that surprisingly, like, it's existing. It exists in the main series, but it's not really as like enforced. Where towards the end of this, they kind of there's a very like polarizing us versus them type thing that you first really become aware of by a character being taken to a kind of a rally, you would say, and this character happens to be wearing a red trucker hat. Like,
boy, yeah.
like, yeah, it does that. It does that too.
Mm-hmm. And then also, sorry.
No, yeah. I don't know what to say. Go ahead.
No. Yeah, I'm sorry. Never mind. I forgot it. Sorry.
I was just looking at this. That's totally a Homelander statue.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like with the head melted off. That's pretty good.
I remembered. Sorry. Another thing that they did that I think they should explore more in all of them, mental illness. There's a character with some pretty serious mental illness, like seeing people as puppets and stuff.
Oh, Jesse, there's some sequence. If you do, there's a few sequences
man.
you'll like a lot.
Yeah, and that's
I
kind of
like the
terrifying.
boys, so. Oh. Oh, man, I can't imagine. Yeah.
Yeah,
like Legion, some of the best parts of
Yeah.
Legion in the comics is just how unhinged he is. And you're like, man, I feel bad for him when he's not all together,
Right. Yeah, and
It's true.
Delusional with superpowers. That's terrifying.
Yeah, oh, man.
It does that well. Where somebody with incredible super strength would be scary. Somebody who is not in control of themselves, but otherwise seems like a good person, but you're like, you shouldn't be allowed to be around people. But also, like, what are you going to do with them? You can't just like lock them up forever. It's interesting and scary. Where it's like they seem like a good person, but they'll probably just rip you apart on a whim. Like
That's why Homelander's so compelling. He's like the scariest dude, and he pretends to be Superman.
Yeah. I didn't
he's
even
such a
consider
good villain.
I didn't even consider him really having mental illness, but you're right, he does.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just considered him kind of a D-bag.
With mommy issues and
Yeah,
narcissism
no, you're right.
and yeah.
Yeah, he is mentally ill. That's great.
Vought's the dumbest company.
Yeah.
Because they don't make any, like, looking at Homelander, there's like no attempt to raise a normal person or a good person. They're guaranteed to raise somebody with incredible superpowers who's just the most damaged and immoral person possible. And it's like, you couldn't have, I don't know, you could try not to be evil when you're, whatever. As a company, you could try to.
Well, and then when we let people give their children that and take them home when they weren't raising them themselves, did they screen these people at all? I don't think they did, because some of the parents you see in these, like in this episode, and I guess a little bit in some of the boys' episodes too, they're just totally exploitative. They're not good
Right.
parents.
Well, in this show, definitely highlights. It's something they also touched on in like the animated like spin-off series they did. There was some episodes that focused on like either the babies or like the kids when they develop powers, and then like that situation went badly, and then they end up in a home or whatever. Like, Vought arranged all this basically, like, but they had no backup or plan for when it goes badly, which most of the time I would assume it would if a kid's got powers they don't know, and it then just manifests when they're like a kid or a young teen or something, and I don't know, kills a bunch of people. Like, you think Vought would like have some type of like plan for that? Instead, they're like, no, okay, no, just put them off in some like home or some horrible place where they're only gonna flourish even more in the most positive places. This touches on that too.
Well, in the animated, like I remember the laser baby, that was great, and yeah, that'd be. What do you do with a laser baby? How do you control that? But in that, I think they were just like exterminating them or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, if you like The Boys, Jesse, I think it's a recommend. You should check it out. There's some ridiculous stuff. I don't even know. There's a scene I want to explain, but I can't. I don't even know how to say it in a way that's like. You just have to see it at some point. You'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh, we saw Layla as an old lady. On a
Yeah,
thing,
that was
too.
cool. That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of love those trailers. Like they did the one for Ace, and then this one, and you get to see her during the Time War. And man, Big Finish put her through the ringer in the Time War. So
Yeah, we're talking about the Doctor Who announcement trailers for like the various DVD or Blu-ray releases of the classic seasons. Yeah, the newest one has Leela in the Time War, and then she teleports aboard of the like young Fourth Doctors, or younger Tom Baker Fourth Doctors. When he showed up, I was like, oh, they're doing that, and then it was over, and I was like, okay,
right.
but
Makes me wish I was still buying like physical media, because like looking at those special features and just like all these companions who are still around, even from other eras, like watching the Fourth Doctor's episodes, like Tegan's just there, like we're like, of course, like being very Tegan about it, and yeah,
that's how you do it. I mean, I will say, like, I get kind of critical of like BBC's weird like animated, like not putting money behind the animated like the reconstructions, but they actually seem like they want to sell these DVDs and Blu-rays because the special features are awesome. And
Yeah.
they kind of know, like, first off, like the 4K or the remasters and stuff, and they'll also do like new effects and stuff. That's whatever. But like, yeah, all the special features, like they're actually trying to sell physical media still, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that. And I like,
well, with interviews with Tom Baker in his 80s here, I mean, like that's pretty cool.
and I've seen some clips on YouTube, of course, that somebody compiled of various like of those like the Doctor and companion, various actors and actresses that have been in the show, sitting on the couch watching episodes. Yeah, and those like the clips I've seen are generally pretty funny to see them react and like either recount, or at times they had like doctors watching other doctors episodes and just like ribbing them the whole time. I think that
Man,
was
you're
pretty
like
good.
the fifth Doctor TARDIS, like that TARDIS was way too full, but that crew, they know each other, and when they get together, like you can tell in the Big Finish like special features and whatnot that they're a pretty rowdy crew. And so to see them on camera like watching somebody else's Doctor episodes, that's like, I can just imagine those episodes are a lot of fun. And like Colin Baker has always got something to say.
That's exactly who it's Colin Baker, and then Davidson. What's happening with my
Pete
brain?
Davidson, yeah.
Yeah. Those two are often, in the clips I've seen, are often the doctors, and they'll have them reacting to the other doctors' episodes. But also with like, Tegan and like that crew. Those are the ones that I've seen in a lot of those clips. And yeah, you're absolutely right. They definitely like to rib each other a lot.
Yeah.
And laugh at like, it's got to be inside jokes and the stupidest stuff where you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, but you seem to be having a great time.
Right, yeah. When the Adric's in there too. I mean, like it's fun just to see Adric getting to mix it up because he's
Right.
one of those polarizing characters. I'd love to see more Turlo. Is that guy still around?
I don't know. I've never seen him on anything.
Yeah.
Maybe he's not. Kind of amazing.
It is amazing. I wonder what else was amazing.
Maybe I.
I'll tell you what's amazing.
Oh, great.
J0613 plus 52, which is a mass of gases, about 270 million light years away, that was found accidentally by the Green Bank Observatory, and along with Arecibo and Nankai radio telescopes, they were searching for low surface brightness galaxies. But the Green Bank Observatory made a typo in their coordinates, and they happened upon this anomaly. So J0613 plus 52 is made of the same kind of gases that are found in between stars and inside of galaxies. But let's see. Its mass and motion are the same as a spiral galaxy, like the Milky Way or Andromeda, and it's actually about the same size as them also. But there's no stars, which is weird.
You always bear the lead on this because when you were asking me what story, like this story or the story of the galaxy with no stars, I was like, no stars. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I got to make it, interesting.
I'm sorry. You're right. You're right.
Okay, so it's extremely isolated, and researchers suspect that that's the reason that it's dark. Because normally collisions with nearby objects or just the tug of neighboring galaxies' gravity will disrupt the gas and make it clump, and then it's those clumps that form stars and planets and all the other bodies that are in a galaxy. So since it's all alone where it is in its portion of the universe, nothing has disturbed it, so it's still the same like primordial gas that it began as 13 whatever billion years ago. And so not only that, it's like super rare. They've never seen it before. It's out in the middle of nowhere all by itself with no light. And the only reason they found it is because they made a typo when they happened to specifically be looking for low light galaxies with radio telescopes. Otherwise, we never would have seen it or know that those even exist. And odds are we probably won't find any others just because, if there are more like that, they're so dark, we wouldn't have any indication to look that way,
Maybe they just don't want to be found. They just turn the lights off.
My arms are too long.
Right. Void galaxies. There's nothing there. Except weird creatures.
Do you want celestial toy makers? Because that's how we get those.
Yeah, I just thought it was kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The galaxy of darkness.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it still gives off radio waves at least. So there's some kind of light, but not, not visible light.
Not to us, anyway. Maybe to the creatures that live there.
Yeah. Somebody that sees in radio waves. They don't think it will give off anything besides radio waves. So.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, real quick, I just want to mention, guys. Did you want to know what the easiest way to?
I was just going to ask. I
stream
was going to
online?
ask that because what is the easiest way to stream online?
The easiest way that I found is the way we're doing right now.
Oh
With
yeah,
StreamYard. StreamYard. It's the easiest way to stream online. You can have guests join you. You can do shows like we're doing. We've been using StreamYard for like 3 years, 2 years. I don't know, years.
ever since 2020 for sure.
You can do webinars. You can do local recordings, which is great for these situations, especially like as a audio and video editor. Say you want to do a live stream, and then you're like, this would be a great actual podcast. That's a little shade at live streamers, which is now me. But you want to turn it into like a slick produced podcast. you got those local recordings. That's smooth audio and video recorded right on your computer. You get separate tracks for everybody, and you can hire me to edit together all nice.
And I'll make them say whatever I want. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
And you can put your logo on. You can do little like spin-ins with music and graphics.
Yeah, maybe you could even do a little. Where did it go?
You can
Where
stream
is
to
it?
multiple platforms.
Yeah.
You can set up a little video clip for like your different segment. It's been so long.
Slap a Grawlix on it. Slap a Grawlix on your Snyder watches.
You can share your screen. That's
It's coming
good.
back. You can you can share your screen. Go to you can get started for free.
And
Right
even
out.
your guests can be streaming at the same time. Like that's a
Yeah.
pretty cool feature.
That is a super cool feature. Like we're now streaming to your Facebook page or personal
To
page.
the Tank Zombie Studios page.
Okay, yeah, and that's super cool. Multiple destinations, StreamYard.com. Give it a try.
Yep.
Sponsored segment.
Yeah.
Before we jump out, anything else you guys want to mention? Jesse, you got anything interesting going on? Anything?
You
to talk about?
know, I don't know who else is listening right about now, but like I'm a big proponent of checking out that Humble Bundle and using our affiliate link, right? Grawlixpodcast.com/humble. And you know, I'm going to tell you about some tabletop role-playing games. Right now, Call of Cthulhu. You can get the whole thing. Like, I'm not really into Eldritch horror gaming, but if I was, boy oh boy, now's the time. Strike where the iron is hot and get like all of those books in PDF form for, it really just depends on how much you want to spend. But you can get some games for really cheap. And if you were to buy those things hardcover, first of all, if you could find some of those books in hardcover, they'd cost you at least $25 to $35 a piece. And right now you can get the whole thing for like $25 probably, if I'm not wrong.
That's cool.
Probably,
yeah.
maybe.
Maybe. It's got to be close to that. $25, $28. That's usually about where they're like top tier runs. So,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't steer you wrong. I literally buy almost all of these. If I was the kind of guy to play Call of Cthulhu, I would have already bought this one.
Yeah. At least $25, you get everything. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that's an affiliate link, of course. We're a humble partner, but it's like the StreamYard deal, right? We were promoting Humble Bundle stuff for free because we love cheap comics and stuff.
Yeah.
We were doing it for free, like promoting it for free for years before I was like, you know what? I think they have an affiliate program. We should probably like look into that.
Yeah.
And the StreamYard deal is the same thing. We've been using StreamYard for ages. So at least when we shill, thank you. First off, we do it at the end of the show. Nobody
nobody's
does that.
left. Nobody's left.
Because advertisers don't like that.
No.
And it's for stuff that we actually use. So cool. I can't think of anything. Man, Grawlix is hitting 10 this year for real this time. I can't think of anything. All my stuff is hitting 10 this year. 2014, I was like hyperactive, busy. What was going on that year? EMC as a podcast network hits 10 this year. Grawlix hits 10 this year. Super Science. I released my first Super Science album in 2014. So like this is 10. The year of the 10s.
You know what?
It's intense.
I think I know what happened. That year was the year that I started being a dispatcher. So I was gone all the time. So
You had
probably-
time. Yeah.
That actually makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I'm like David Lynch. If you let me, I will just work endlessly and neglect everything and everyone. It's a little
Let
sad,
it all
but
burn. Yeah.
whatever. I'm like David Lynch.
Except you do things on your frickin' phone.
Yeah.
So good. I had an excuse to share that on to somebody's threads comment post the other day. I was super excited to do so.
There are just moments that need to be shared.
Yep. All right. But yeah, I don't have anything else to share coming up right yet. Melanie, you got anything?
No, I don't do anything.
Okay. Well, she does stuff. You're very productive and creative. It's just they're for you and your loved ones. They're not for the internet.
That's
Yeah,
right.
no.
Nothing wrong with that.
You don't have that weird craving that many of us have to like.
Yeah, I know.
To try to monetize the things we love until we hate them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Podedit.com. I'll be your podcast editor. No reason I brought that up. Just wanted to let you know.
But if you do want some art, I'll give it to you for free.
Yeah, that's true.
Space.
All the time, I'm like, don't get rid of that. Don't paint over that. What are you doing? It's her art. Like,
Right.
What are you doing?
Yeah, it's the journey, really. It's like,
Yeah.
but then I'd have to buy more stuff. If I just paint over this, I get both.
Yeah.
But I'm so like, no, I'm gonna make a thing, and it's gonna be, it needs to stay around forever. So I have like
Yeah.
5
That's the
hard
thing.
drives full of junk and closets
Stay
full of
around
crap.
forever. I know.
On that note, we can't stay around forever on this live stream, so let's end it.
Yeah.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye. I just realized like let's end it is like my kind of become my sign off. That's all I miss.
That's your Midwestern whelp.
Well, wow.
Well,
Oh God, we're doing that right now, aren't we? All right.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend. Have a great time. Stay warm. Stay off the roads
Bye.
if you can.